Hey everyone, welcome to Two Sisters and a Book podcast. I'm Carolyn, the hopeless romantic.
And I'm Leslie, the oldest.
This is where we talk about fantasy books and take a closer look into the wonderful worlds that are created for our beautiful reading pleasure. In the next few weeks, we will be taking a very close look into chapters of Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. This first episode will be covering chapters 1 through 8. We will be releasing these videos weekly as we dive way down deep into analyzing this lore that gets us all so hooked. So keep a lookout for those videos to drop at Tuesdays at 7 p.m. We will also be talking about theories we have, questions that we had while reading, as well as any questions you can bring up. So don't be afraid to leave those comments if you have them as we do our in-depth analysis.
Also, as a reminder, we are adults who speak adult language, and so we will be using some spicy words. So please remember, put those earbuds in, there's little ears around, and enjoy the show.
That's right. So we will not be shy about talking about those spicy scenes that will definitely come up. I'm so excited. I take very delicious, maybe just a little bit too much pleasure in this.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Shower scene, baby. And throne room.
Oh, we're getting there.
Mm.
Also, something to take note of is there will be spoilers for this entire series.
Yes, there will. Sorry, there will be. There will definitely will be.
So, big spoiler alert to everyone out there. If you have not finished reading all three books, which is Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm, you might want to finish reading those before you come back. Come on back, and we'll be reading right here for you. Unless you don't mind spoilers, in which case, keep listening. All right, so we are going to start that. So if you have not finished and you don't like those spoiler alerts, you might want to leave now. So we assume that if you are still here, you have read all three books all the way through Onyx Storm and you are ready to dive down into this with us. This series, oh my goodness, this series, like so many of us, we all got a little. Actually, okay, I have a question for you. Are you ready? Are you ready? It's a doozy.
What's that?
Did you like this book?
No, I hated it. No, just kidding. This was
Clearly.
like my favorite series as of right now. I have had such a book headache since reading this story. This whole series. We started it in November, and I didn't realize the third book hadn't come out. And I also didn't realize it was a 5-book series. So, heads up, if you have read the first two and you're reading the third, yeah, there's 5 books. So it's so anyway, so Carolyn got really mad at me because only Fourth Wing and Iron Flame were out. And the way Iron Flame ended, yeah, that I finished it, she did not for like 2
You got
months.
a little mad at me.
2 months. She did not finish this book. And yeah, so if you know, you know. So yeah, no, I think I have listened to the series now. This is my 4th time listening
So you didn't
to
like it at all?
do this. No, I hated it. It was horrible. Like it just was the worst book I've ever read.
Okay, let me tell you and explain how this went down, y'all. So, she calls me up at work one day, typical, normal for us. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, I found this amazing book. You have to listen to it. There's 3 books in it." And I went,
There's
"Okay."
dragons.
She is a dragon fanatic, y'all. Like anything you want to get her hooked, say, "Oh, there's romance with dragons." She's in.
Much of the dragon shifters. I just like the dragon characters. So
Don't get me wrong. I like dragons. I do. I love a lot of dragon series, but like if you really want to get her hooked, tell her there's dragons and she's in. So anyway, she called me and she's like, "You have to read this book. Oh my goodness." And Zayden, and she just had so much to say. And I'm like, "All right, calm down." I listened to this book. I'm not even kidding, y'all. I finished this book in less than a day and a half. She actually got mad because I got ahead of her.
yeah,
And she
yeah.
started 2 days before me.
That was the
And then
second
she
book. The
got,
first book I'd already finished. The first book I'd already finished. It was the second book that you got ahead of me.
oh, yeah, that's right.
And then
So
you
I read the
stopped.
first, And when I say read, I do mean listen. I actually prefer reading it like on paper, but with life
Or
and everything, 9 times out of 10, I end up listening to it instead of reading it. So we use that interchangeable. I just want to make that clear. So read the first book in a day and a half. And then I got about halfway through the second book, Iron Flame, and realized the third one was not out. Now, guys, let me just say, previous to reading this series, I was a diehard. If the entire series is not out, I'm not reading it. And then this one gets me
was already hooked.
I was so mad at her. I called her up and I was like, I'm gonna kill you.
But you like?
I was actually the one to bring it to her attention that all of them were not out.
Yeah, I didn't know
And
the
then
third
she
one was
did
out.
more research and she's like, there's actually 5 books. Not happy, guys. To say I was not happy is a huge understatement. So I saw where the second book was going. I got to a good stopping point and I stopped about 6 chapters?
She stopped right before the battle. If you know, you know. She stopped
right
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 before
before the
the
big battle.
battle. The
Right before the
Gaius
big
battle. Yes.
Yeah, I did.
That's where
I
she
did.
stopped. And refused to read it until the end of December, right before Onyx Storm came out.
Oh, and what made her really mad is I went back and listened to Fourth Wing again, and then all of Iron Flame before I finished it. She was not happy. But then all was well because we went to the midnight release of Onyx Storm together, and
She did.
I think this year we've decided when the next one comes out, we're gonna get a hotel room and just read it all night long.
Yeah,
It'll be a
because when we went to go read, we took the day off to read Onyx Storm, and we were talking
blast.
back and forth. Unfortunately, my kids were off that day of school, but luckily they kind of left me alone. They're old enough now; they leave me alone. Her
Yeah.
husband, however, decided to get sick that
Was
day
home.
and would not leave her alone. So literally for 2.5 hours, she's like, "Oh, I gotta make lunch," and then he won't stop talking, and so I stopped reading for 2.5 hours, and I went, you know what? Screw it, I'm just gonna read because she was still like 5 chapters back, so I just kept reading.
I had a lot going on.
I don't care. I don't care. Anyway, so we're gonna get a
Suffice it to
hotel probably
say-
for the next one.
If I get to say this is our favorite series. Like this even tops the Terran Soul series for me. I'm just saying. Like
Yeah,
and that is one of my favorites. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
But overall, the dragons, mwah. Shadow Daddy, mwah.
So as a standalone, like this just Fourth Wing, as a standalone, would you give it out of 10?
Hey, the dragon person in me wants to say 10 out of 10. I'm gonna say 8.5. Because there are some
why?
things in it. There are some things in it that I think could have been a little bit better. Either some parts were a little bit slow, and then other parts you're just like, wait, what? We just went from here to here. How? Why? Why is the character? I mean, granted, obviously some of the answers we get in the second book, but why are the characters doing what they're doing? That's just my opinion.
I would agree on that assessment. I would. For me, I'd probably give it a 9 out of 10. I thought it came pretty close as a standalone. I know that's a big one for me. I didn't think anything would top ACOTAR or Terran Soul series for me, but this one did it.
Go me. Go me.
Yeah, I know. You take all the credit. I'd say as part of the series, other than the way Onyx Storm ended, if you know, you know. Let's breathe through it, y'all. Let's just breathe through it together.
I don't want to breathe. I want the next book. I have to say, this was probably the easiest cliffhanger. Iron Flame was already out when I started reading this. This one had the easiest cliffhanger. The second one irritated the crap out of me because you're just like, wait, what? And then the third one just went, I want to chuck the book across the room. So now I'm like worried if the fourth book, because it's gotten progressively worse with cliffhangers as she's going.
Yeah. Okay, we're gonna do the summary as we go through and just kind of break down our thoughts and theories as we went. So let's dive down into this. So, starting in chapter 1, Violet is struggling with her oh so heavy rucksack, going up those stone stairs to the fortress that she's lived in, to the general's office, who just so happens to be her mother. Well, we find out that she was supposed to go into the scribe's quadrant, been training for it her whole life with her father, who was a scribe, um, who is now passed away. When she comes up, she hears her sister fighting with her mother about her. It kind of shows her confidence, I think, a little bit. I mean, she struggles with that anyway. I think a part of her really struggles with the self consciousness, which, considering
She has a
her
good
ailment,
reason.
makes sense.
She has the LDS, which that's the one thing Rebecca Yarros is like really, I think, gotten a lot of credit for because she's bringing to light like different diseases. So basically,
Hmm.
Violet's ligaments don't work the way they're supposed to. Her bones pop out of joints very easily, and
Yeah.
Rebecca Yarros actually has this condition. So I think that's kind of cool that.
She's actually been very open about it in interviews and things like that. I've watched a lot of it.
Yeah,
So we should also say that there will be spoilers from interviews and things that we've watched from Rebecca Yarros and some other podcasts. So
yeah, especially once we get to
yeah,
April.
Mira goes. I, would you say that Mira is acting the way she is because she doesn't believe in her, or just because she's scared of losing her?
I think she's scared of losing her after losing Brennan, which we found out in this chapter. Brennan died five
Yeah.
years ago because he was fighting the rebellion, which again we'll get into more. But I think it's the fact that she is worried that Violet won't make it because she knows she's been through the Rider Squadron. She knows what it's
Yeah.
like, what's going to happen, what she's going to have to deal with physically, and she's worried with her condition that she won't be able to survive it. So I can understand Mira's point of view. I think she's a little harsh, but she puts it brutally honest.
Yeah, she is very brutally honest. I will give it to Mira though. Like once she realizes there's nothing to be done,
Yeah,
she fully backs her and fully supports her. Like there are moments
she does.
later in the book, but it she totally gets behind her and she's all right. Let's do this. This is what you need to do.
Doesn't mean she doesn't argue with her or doesn't agree with what she's doing sometimes. With that more
Facts.
too.
I mean, especially when it comes to dating.
And Zayden, and yeah.
Considering the one thing she told her was stay away
Stay
from
away
Zayden
from Zayden
Ryerson.
Ryerson. Yeah, she kind of did the opposite of that, but not always her fault.
I mean, true, especially in the beginning. She tries to stay away from him, and he just makes that a little impossible. We find out why later.
Yeah.
So, General
Yeah.
Thorngale, who is her mother, she is the general of Besgaeth War College. So she pretty much runs the show of everything, and she runs her family the same way. She comes off very cold and very mean. I have to say, when I first read this, I kind of took it as she is that military parent, that military parent that loves their kids, that wants them to succeed, but she's not warm and fuzzy. She's just not.
She's mission focused.
She actually does right in there. You can see the moments like when she's talking to Violet right before conscription. She writes in there, and I apologize, I'm going off of memory on this particular moment, but she writes in there that she can see her father in her. And she writes that
Hmm.
her face softens and she can see the mother that was with her dad. So you see a little bit of that in there where she has that in her, but it's clearly not the forefront of her personality.
No, no, it's not.
But at the heart, she does love her kids. She just, I think, in a lot of ways, she doesn't know how to show it.
Yeah,
You know,
that was the dad's job.
yeah. She left that a lot up to their dad. So when they lost their dad, they pretty much lost that.
Yeah.
Um, We find out her brother Brennan, as you said, died 3 years ago in the Rebellion War.
I think Brennan's death was the catalyst to her dad diving into more of what probably got him killed. Of the
Probably.
like the reason for the rebellion, the reason for why Fen Ryerson was fighting the way he was, why he was doing what he was. So I think ultimately that's what killed him, was the what killed him was what caused the rebellion in the first place. Because yeah,
True.
I think that's what killed her dad. So yeah, I mean he probably would have died eventually anyway, just being who he was and being a scribe and as high as a scribe as he was, yeah, I don't think
Yeah.
he would have survived just because that's where Violet gets her moral compass thing, which tends to
Yeah.
irritate us, especially in the second book. But, we'll get into that.
She
Um,
just needed to get over it. Did you catch the first read? Not the reread, obviously, but the first read. Did you catch the whole lore thing? Like the book of lores that she was
oh no, the
so adamant
venom and
about
the
not reading blind.
wyvern? No, no. Yeah,
No,
the
you didn't.
vermin, as Mira put it.
The
No, because
venom.
I mean, that was the very first mention of it. You really don't, even when they're going through threshing and Ree and Violet are going back and forth about, the stories their dads would tell them when they were growing up about the
Yeah, I
venom
caught it there.
and about the wyvern. And you're still like, okay, you really don't know what's going on because you don't know what Zayden's doing. You know he's doing something, but you don't know what he's doing. And at this point in the book, everything is in the War College.
Yeah.
Even with Battle Brief, you don't really know what's going on in the rest of the world. So if you can kind of consider
Yeah.
Violet very sheltered,
Yeah.
even
Very
though she
much
has
so.
a lot of information in her head, she's very sheltered.
Yes,
So
it is very secluded to the college.
yeah. So
Okay.
no,
I
I,
was just
I, I
curious on your
didn't.
thoughts on that.
No, I didn't in the first one.
I didn't with the books, but I did when, like you just said, when Rhiannon and her were talking at before threshing when they were being presented to the
Presentation,
dragons.
yeah. Presentation game.
Yeah, I did catch it on that. I'm like,
They
what's
keep
the
bringing
reason
this
for
up.
bringing this?
I mean, yeah, I mean, it was just like, why does this keep getting brought up? But it's lore, so okay. Yeah.
Okay, so okay, I was just curious if you caught that.
No.
So moving on in the story, she clears out her rucksack. She tells her all these different things that she needs to do, and
Starts
tells her
throwing her books
everything
out.
basically that Brennan did. Changes her clothes, gives her her very own dragon scale. Ooh la la.
No, we gotta go into more of that. So the vest that she puts her is actually
Mhm.
armor, and it's made from tiny scales.
For
It went
dragons.
that went
Dragons,
from
tinies for
that went
dragons.
from this to like this.
Yeah, I believe when she asked her, what she said was, I happen to know somebody who can make big things very small and small things very big.
Yeah. So no,
Sister thing.
that vest is definitely something that helps her get through
Without
the
that vest, you
whole
would
first
have
year.
died multiple times.
You count at least 3 or 4 in my head.
5. We'll have to count that as we go along. We'll come back to that. But I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure it was 5. Okay, so we'll have to see who's right on that. After she gets her rucksack all cleaned out and tells her what to do, changes her clothes, gives her her very own dragon scale from Tiny.
She gives you a lot of
She
information in the next like 5 minutes. Fine,
There was
Dane.
fine day, wear this, don't do this, do this. This is what
Yeah.
you need to do. And above all, stay away from Zayden Ryerson.
Don't mess with second
I
and
think
third
she
years.
fails on that one, just slightly.
She fails on a few
Um,
of them. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, and only have sex in your own um first year class. Yeah, I don't even think she kept half of the things she told her to do and not do.
Not all of them were her fault, technically.
Technically, so she climbs the stairs, she gets to the top, and we meet Rhiannon for the first time,
Yeah.
who becomes her bestie.
And they switch boots.
Yeah, she saves her. She gives her one of her boots because she sees that they're slick on the bottom and it's about to rain, and she doesn't want her to die. Oh, so sweet.
Oh, poor Dylan.
So we get our first look at who Violet really is at her core, which is someone who will do anything to help someone else,
Yes, yes,
which
you
kind
will.
of gets her into a lot of trouble in the future.
No, what are you talking about? That doesn't get her in trouble at all.
Right, she just sails through, just sails right through everything. So
Anyway,
they switch
yeah,
moves, and then she looks over and dun dun dun, Zayden.
but she doesn't know it's Aiden.
They
She just sees a very
He doesn't
handsome
know it's
man.
Zayden. He
Very
doesn't know it's her, and
handsome.
there is a little bit of electricity going on
No,
between both of them.
the funny part is he has interest in her, she has interest in him. And then within
Very
30
much.
seconds, it goes from, ooh, he's kind of cute to, oh fuck, because they find out
What's
each
your
other's
name?
names.
What's your name? Violet Sorngale.
You ready for him,
That's
Ryerson?
Violet.
What? Oh, okay.
What's your
Now he's gonna kill
Zayden
me.
Ryerson?
Yay.
Yes, it is. Yay! He just found out the person he wants to kill. Except, as we know, he can't. So the one thing that he's hoping is going to kill her kind of doesn't.
Yeah. So,
Because, as we know, the chapter ends with Zayden saying, "Why would I kill you when the parapet would do it for me?" That the parapet doesn't kill her. Spoiler alert!
yeah, no, it doesn't. It kind of almost
Although
does. She comes
it,
close.
it's close.
She
That's
slips.
more because of Jack fucking Barlow. We're getting ahead of ourselves. So,
Yeah, we don't like Jack fucking Barlow. He
okay,
does
we said
die.
there was spoiler
He
alert.
dies in this book.
He,
Shh.
hmm Moving on. So we start chapter 2, and it starts with the first time you hear from Jack fucking Barlow.
I'm
Yes,
gonna
we are
kill
using that
you.
phrase. I'm going to kill you, is what he says. Remember my name because I'll be a
I'm the
wingleader.
ringleader.
Although, what I find fun and I absolutely love about Violet is her tendency to recite facts when she's in stressful
She does.
situations.
You find out just about everything you want to know about all of the countries and districts and which actually kind
Yeah,
of helps you on later on, but kind of. I mean, it kind of helps you
I think
figure
it
out.
was. I think it's an interesting way that Rebecca put in there a way to put a lot of detail in about the world building without.
Without making it boring because you're obviously you're
Yeah.
like you're invested in the situation because she could fall and die or Jack
hmm
Barlow's chasing her in the back, so there's that element of hurry hurry hurry, but you
Yeah.
still get a lot of facts at the same time. So yeah, that is a very interesting tactic that she does. I think that is pretty
I
cool.
love that she did that. I really do. Like I find it hilarious. Mostly because just as a fun little fact, my little tick when I get scared or nervous or whatever is to sing stupid little songs. I mean, we made up trail writing songs.
I can believe that. So
Yes, have a lot of squirrel moments, people. So funny little songs gets me through. So what I also find really interesting is I know at least for me, okay, it's the second chapter of the book. So she does not fall off the parapet and die. You know she
right,
doesn't because,
right.
end of book, it's over, which can't happen. So you're still really, really
Edge of the
invested at
seat.
this point. You're still on the edge of your seat, like, oh my god, is she gonna make it? Is she gonna have what's gonna happen? Is he gonna catch up to her? Is he gonna throw off the parapet? Like it's just the way she writes it is just very intense. Like, you're sitting
Yeah, it
there and you're
doesn't
like,
matter how many
oh my
times you read
goodness.
it. Yeah, it
It
doesn't
doesn't.
matter how many
But
times you read
no,
it.
because as you know, it's not just her crossing the parapet, it's trying to cross the parapet before Jack Barlow throws her off. We're on the edge of our seats. And she has this way of writing where you're just like,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
the chapter ends with her making it to the end of the parapet. And and turning a knife on Jack Barlow.
Having Jack Barlow by the balls. Literally.
That is the best moment. Oh my goodness. And she's sitting there going, what do I do now? Like, I can't just let him go
Yes.
because he's going to kill me. Or, I could kill him, but I don't want to do that because he's defenseless. And she's just going back and forth, and you're just like,
No, my favorite line in the next scene when she has him by the balls, and the one taking I think it's Amber Mavis probably taking the
yeah.
role, and Jack's like, I'm gonna kill her, and she's like, well, technically she's a candidate. You're still a candidate,
Yeah.
so she can kill you. And then it's like, what are you gonna do, Violet? Like, you gonna let him get off, or are you gonna? What are you gonna do?
What kind of person are you really? And we find out she's a little too merciful at times. That's just my personal opinion. I
A
think
little too merciful. She refuses to do a kill shot until actually the next major scene with Jack Barlow. Well, kind of, sort of, yeah.
But even then she doesn't kill it.
What she
Not get
thinks
ahead of
she
ourselves.
does,
I mean,
she does kill him.
technically, okay. We'll talk more about that later.
Anyway, then we meet.
All of a sudden, she decides to give him a pass because he said he won't kill her, which she lets him off. Which, shockingly enough, he keeps to that promise for the
Yes,
moment.
he does.
Then we start chapter 3, and we meet Dane. Dane for the first time. He annoyed me even on the first read. It was. I think I even called you like, oh my god, can I just skip these Dane scenes? And you're like, no.
No,
So
no, you can't. You can't. I mean, Dane does ended up getting kind of some of a redemption arc, but this first book, oof.
that takes a long time. That takes a long
Oof.
time. And
Well, he kind of
still
disappears for a while. I mean, he's in the
He does.
book, but the second book, he kind of disappears. Like, you really don't have much contact with him. But
you
this
have
book,
enough on this book. Okay.
this
This book just gives you all the Dane you could possibly. Although I will say at the end of Onyx Storm, there's we might see another side of Dane. We'll see. No, do not get ahead of ourselves. Not get ahead of ourselves. We will get there, people. Okay.
All I'm gonna say is D and S. D and S.
All right. I do want to know from everyone, if you're watching this, what was your first initial thoughts of Dane? Were you as annoyed as we were? Because we were.
There actually are Dane fans out there. There are people who like Dane. Not many that I've seen. But you know what really shocked me? Like, okay, Dane, I could kind of see because he's the boy next door. People, he wants to keep her safe, safe. But there are actually people who like Jack Barlow.
That's not possible.
Yeah, no, it is.
Possibly the worst. Bad. He's the best worst character you could ever create. There are no redeeming qualities. None.
Red flag central. But no, there are people out there that like Jack Barlow. Yes.
Other bad villain has at least one or two qualities. Like even Varys, I could come up with maybe at least one redeeming quality for Varys. I mean, I will say my one redeeming quality for Varys, I think he truly thinks he's doing it for the right reasons in his head. In his head. He's absolutely not.
We're going to agree to disagree on that, but okay, go ahead. But
no.
So yeah, Jack Barlow. But yeah, we want to know what were your thoughts of Dane Atos, because neither one of us liked him from the beginning.
He's so busy trying to protect her and save her that he refuses to listen to her.
Or believe in her, or see, nothing.
After time and time again, she proves that Can she do this the normal, typical way? No.
No.
But she can do this. She has the will, she has the guts, she has, we find out, the personality. But even then, it's all about him and those people, those guys just drive me nuts.
Mhm. It's the boy next door with the overprotective big brother trope that just
It's
Okay,
Tamlin.
so
It's
I
Tamlin.
have a question for you. So in
Okay.
this scene, obviously he's like, "What the fuck are you doing here? Why are you here? You're supposed to be in the squad car. You're supposed to be here." And she's like, My mom threw me in here." And he's like, "We're gonna get you out." Yeah, nice try, but no. So anyway, so they go up to his apartment, right? His room
Okay.
to wrap her knee because she obviously wrenched the shit out of it by falling on the parapet.
Yeah.
So he's wrapping the knee. They have their little moment, like, "Oh, I've missed you, I missed you." Oh, blah blah blah. It's they're the sweet little moment. Now, my question to you,
Okay.
obviously, we know Dane kisses her. Actually, it'll be the
Later.
next episode. But what do you think would have happened? Because obviously they had a moment in this scene where his eyes heat and
They did.
she's like, "Oh, I missed you, Dane. I missed you so much." What if he had kissed her there?
Uh,
How much would it have changed at least the next bit? Especially the scene under the tree with Zayden and all that stuff. How much do you think it would have changed the story if he'd actually tried to kiss her then? Because obviously there would have been no chemistry. I mean, it was never there, like physically chemistry.
yeah.
She thinks there is, but obviously there's not. But she hasn't had those scenes with Dane or Zayden under the tree yet. So,
No.
do you think it would have changed the story? That was my thought this last
I
time I was
don't.
listening to it.
No. I don't think it would have changed. I think it would have changed like events slightly because I think it would have accelerated some things, but I don't think it would have changed anything. I think it would have just made her a little more open to Zayden at first, I think. I
Do you think it
I
would
think
have
she would have
changed?
realized it.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think she would have realized it sooner that there weren't any feelings there because as we know, as we'll find out in the next few chapters, when they do finally lip locks, there's no chemistry there. Like it's she figures out it's pretty much been all in her head. It's been this, little girl crush that's gone on
It's
for too
it's more
long.
like
We've all
kissing
had
your
those. We
kissing your cousin.
we know what those are. Kissing
Anyway,
cousins.
but okay, so but that was my question because then would she have gotten more pissed off in these next scenes when Dane's like, "You need to get out of the writer squadron. You need to get to the scribe quadrant. I made this deal. You
Yes.
da 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 da." Do you think it would have actually pissed her off more? Because I don't
Yes.
know.
That is what I mean by I think it would have accelerated some events and some things would have changed because she wouldn't have been as accepting of, well, he does just really, just that wayward, but he's so cute kind of thing going on.
It's still the
It
crush
would have,
thing.
yeah, it would have made her mad, and I don't think she would have been as accepting of him in the coming weeks. But I don't think it would have changed anything like irrevocably in the story. It just she
No,
wouldn't
that's
have
why
been all doe-eyed over him.
yeah, I don't think it would have changed that. I just wonder before, because I mean, obviously she's obviously seen Zayden, and they've already had that
Hmm.
little moment before they found out who they were. But she hasn't really had any conversations with Zayden yet. So I wonder if he would
No.
have kissed her then, would she have deluded herself into thinking that there was more than not? Or would it have been like, okay, he's just a friend, he's my best friend because I grew up with him, so there's still that
Hmm.
connection. But obviously there's no more romantic feelings.
Maybe I. It might have changed a little, but again, I don't think it would have irrevocably changed anything. I
Okay.
just don't.
Yeah.
Here's my question to you:
Hmm.
If obviously she knows through the rebellion and the names, she knows who Xaden Ryerson is.
Yes.
She knows of him before Mira says anything to her. She knows he's Fenn Ryerson's son. If Mira had not warned her off of Xaden, like given her that ultimate, he wants to kill you warning, do you think she would have fought as hard against the attraction to him?
Yes.
Or do you think she would have been more open to it?
No, she still would have fought it because you remember her reaction when she said Xaden's name, when Mira was warning her about it. Mira didn't have to tell her anything. She already knew who Xaden was. She already knew he was the son. Because you got to remember, she's read all those histories. She read all of that stuff having to do with the rebellion. So she knew who Xaden was. I don't think it would have
Yes.
changed her at all. I don't think it would have changed anything in her reactions to him at all.
But she didn't know. She knew, like I said, she knew who he was. She knew he was Fenn Ryerson's son. You know, Fenn Ryerson, who was the leader of the rebellion. But she didn't know anything more than historical facts or what the scribes have written down as historical facts. So she didn't know necessarily that he specifically blamed. She might have had a thought, but she didn't know until Mira told her he wants to kill you. And that was when she was like, oh, fuck, 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 fuck.
The only information that Mira gave her that she didn't already know was the fact that he was there. And that all the rebellion marked kids
We're there.
were conscripted into going to going to the war college, because the Riders Quadrant, as punishment for their parents' sins. That's the only information Mira gave her that she didn't already know. So no, I think she would have had the same reaction to finding out it was Xaden than if Mira hadn't said anything.
Which, let me just say, totally fucked up that happened. Like, we find out why later, but at this point, you're like, they conscripted all of these kids because of their parents? Like, it's so fucked up on so many levels. Again, we find out later that is not what happened. But
I have a lot to say on that because, well, I mean, okay, again, spoiler alert, because knowing what we know, I think the idea of it was not only did Xaden take them on himself, we'll go into that more later, but I think the whole point of putting all the rebellion kids into the Rider Squadron is to prevent the reason for the rebellion to accelerate and get out. Because that was Navarre's, the king and the generals and stuff. That was their thought process. We have to keep this contained. We do not want the people to panic. We don't want them to know. We don't want them to, the wards are keeping us safe, but fuck everybody else, as we'll find out later. Which the wards aren't. Never mind.
Never mind. Moving on.
So
we'll go on more on that later too.
But no, I think the whole point of the rebellion kids going in was either A, to just have them killed off because not many people survive. That was their whole thought process in Xaden, was they didn't think he'd make it past the parapet. Then they didn't think he'd make it past first year because they thought everybody would kill him. They didn't think he'd, like a dragon, would bond with him. I think he proved them wrong in just about every aspect.
Yeah, they didn't count on Sigale.
No, they didn't count on Sigale.
They did not count on Sigale.
At all.
Love her. Sorry. Okay. We'll get on more on her in just a little bit. But
So Dane tries to talk her into going into the Scribe Quadrant.
He does. So I want to know what his thought process was, because he's taking her down, and then when she realizes where he's taking her, obviously she stops dead and goes, I'm not doing that. My mother is just going to bring me right back here. So what is his thought process in this? Like, he's just going to take her to the scribe and her mother's just going to go, okay. Like,
I don't think he was thinking about her mom at all. I think he was just thinking, I've got to keep Violet safe. I've got to keep Violet safe. I've got to keep Violet safe. And she stays here, she's gonna die. She stays here, she's gonna die. Like that was the only. I think that's the only thing running through his head this entire fucking time until threshing,
yeah,
like till
no,
after threshing. But that's his whole thought process this entire time. It has nothing to do with her, like her as a person.
no.
That's why he doesn't see her because the whole whenever he thinks about her, it's I gotta keep Violet safe. I gotta get her out of here. I gotta keep her safe.
Well, and then it warps more into I can't handle you dying. So it's really at the heart of it. I've always thought it's more about him than it ever was about her because he
Yeah.
can't handle watching her die. He can't handle watching her go through threshing. And it's like, this isn't happening to you. This is happening to her.
Not
So
about you.
it's all about you.
So what I'm hearing is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's serious. It's all about you. Well, of course. Not that he ever admits that. So he tries to take her down. She absolutely refuses. So she ends up going back into formation, which is when we get to see the dragons for the first time. Ooh.
So we
And
see,
Sigale.
yeah. So we see Sigale. We see Cat. No, we don't see Cat. Um, we see. Do we see Einser? Because her mom's not there, is she?
No, the only one we know for sure is there is Sigale. There's
And the
obviously the
other
other
wing
wing
leader's
leaders.
dragons.
The
Yeah,
other wing
yeah.
leaders dragons, but they don't mention them by name at this point. So Sigale is the only one mentioned by name, at which we find out her name is Sigale later. But she's the
Yeah, we
only
don't
one we
actually
really
get her
know
name
about.
then, but yeah.
Yeah. But
It's
I always found it interesting that when she she gave her that look. Now, do you think that look that Sigale basically stares her down is because, first of all, she felt the attraction, obviously, that Zayden had for her initially? Or do you think it's all about the pact that he made and him wanting to kill her and all that? What do you think was going? I would love to know what's going through Sigale's mind. So I'm curious as to your thoughts.
I would like to hear the conversation between Zayden and Sigale because Zayden obviously has the initial reaction to like, okay, she's not, yeah, and then finds out who she is, and then
Ooh la la.
okay, we fucking hate you. Like, I'm gonna kill you, but I can't kill you because I've already made a deal with your mom. As long as you make it past Parrot Pit. So I think that's like the whole hatred thing. Like, why would I kill you when the Parrot Pit can do it for me? Because it's like, okay, as long as she doesn't make it past Parrot Pit, we're good. We're golden. We don't have to worry about this. Oh shit, she made it. So I think Sigale is more curious about her because of A, whose daughter she is.
Mm.
B, Zayden's initial attraction, yet hatred, yet, yeah, just all of it. But I don't think Sigale's like, I don't think Sigale's is focused on her until Threshing. I think Threshing is
Yeah.
when she earns Sigale's respect. As much as
Well,
Sigale is
considering
willing
it.
to respect everyone else. But that's when she gets Sigale's respect, I think.
Grudging
So
respect.
I think it's just more curiosity and sizing her up like, okay, this is who we're worried about. This is who, like
Right.
she's
I
tiny.
oh
Yeah, yeah.
I want a Sigale POV. I really do. Of just that moment. Just give me like a little snippet POV because I would love to know what they're talking about.
Yeah, yeah. That would be pretty cool. But
Yeah.
I don't.
Probably not gonna
Then
happen.
again, yeah, I know. I wouldn't really want Rebecca Yarros to write that. Like I would love
No.
to see Zayden's POV from, like that whole book because obviously there's a lot
Mm.
going on with him in that first book. Not just to do with
That we don't even know
Violet,
about.
but with everything else that he's working on. So to hear that part of it and hear more of Sigale, because obviously the little bit we've heard of Sigale, like, yeah, we're just like, oh, you was a bad bitch. You was a bad bitch. So that'd be kind of funny to
Yes.
like listen to. But I don't think she's gonna do that because I think it would.
No.
I think that makes the little bonus chapters that we get from Zayden's POV with that little bit of Sigale. I think that's like whets our appetite enough to where it's like, okay, it just would kind of almost maybe ruin it. but
I think
in
she
my
does it
opinion,
on purpose. She gives those and we're just like, oh, I want some more. Give me more.
yeah,
And then we
yeah,
get it and we're like, that's it. That's it. That's all we
right.
get.
I want more. I want more.
I'm drooling at the mouth here.
Yeah.
Okay,
Boom.
so we go through the first formation where we had, what was it, 6 runners that got the dragon flame
At
right away
least
because,
3 or 4. Yeah, like there was at least 4 or 5 that ran, and yeah, that was.
I don't think I caught that on the first read. Like, I caught the one, obviously, but I think I completely missed the other, like, 4 or 5 runners that she just,
The
because it was
flares
just
of heat.
a side thought.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I
yeah.
completely missed that on the first read.
But how about
So, interesting enough.
how about Zayden's speech?
He definitely is his father's son. He has that charismatic
He
way
does
about him. Everyone
very,
hates, like, loves to hate him. They love to hate Zayden
but you
because as
can't
much
help but
as
respect him.
yeah, as much as they hate him because of not only who his father is, but he's an arrogant little bastard and he lets you know it because he doesn't give a shit what you think. I mean, considering he has
Mhm.
all of the kids on his shoulders, which we find out later. And we'll get into more about Zayden and our thoughts on that and his whole dark thing he's got going on.
Got a lot. He's got a
He's
lot
go
going
on.
on, especially as the books
That's a
go
good thing he's
on. Like
hot.
seriously.
So yeah, it everyone loves to hate him, and we know they respect him because he's a wing leader, which is almost unheard of because he is a marked one. So
Yeah, nobody
kind of makes
foresaw that
you
one.
no, kind of makes you sit there and go, I kind of want to know like what like how that happened.
Ooh, what if we got a prequel, like of his first couple years?
That would be so amazing. I don't
Rebecca
think he's gonna
Yaros.
do
There
that,
we go.
but
Rebecca, a prequel.
yeah, that's an
Prequel.
idea.
We need to find out how all this started. Like the
What do
whole
you think,
bonding
guys?
thing, how he killed the prince. You know, like all that stuff. That
All that
ooh.
stuff.
All right,
Yeah.
I'm making a mark. If she makes it, then yeah. Yep, that would be pretty cool.
What do you guys think? You want a prequel? Because that would be pretty amazing.
We learn more about Garrick, we learn more about Bodhi, we learn more about Imogen. Yeah, yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
All people we're gonna go into here in a minute. So, moving into chapter 4, we go to the sparring ring for the first time. And this is where writers are made or broken. So, chapter starts with Captain Fitzgibbons reading from the death toll for the first time. Everyone's information in writer's block. We find out all the first years sleep in a big bunk area with absolutely no privacy. Oh my goodness. Couldn't handle that, y'all. I need my space. Just saying. She's a better person than me.
Like Carolyn never went in the military.
Fact. That is a fact. I mean, minus the whole, ADD thing and squirrel moments and, just not my thing. But hey, I shout out to everyone
No
it does.
facts.
So she gets up from her bunk. She walks out to go to her first. She's decided she wants to work in the kitchens for a one certain reason.
Oh yeah, we
She's
forgot
a
to mention that. We
little
forgot
thing.
to mention that.
She
Yeah.
does. She works in the kitchens purely to poison people. I love that about her. I really do.
Wait,
She's a sneaky little thing. That's the whole reason she works in the kitchens.
no, but she hasn't started that yet.
Yes, she does. Because she's leaving the bunk area to go to her first kitchen assignment.
She takes the kitchen assignment because she hasn't read the journal yet.
No, she hasn't read the journal yet, but that is why she decides to go to the kitchens. Because that's what she figures. So, Dane catches her coming out of the bunk for the first time, in which they run into Rhiannon as well, who's coming out of a second year's. We also find out that that afternoon is the first sparring gem or assessment day to kind of see where all the cadets are at and how they are hand to hand. First time we also hear Riddick's smartass. Gotta love Riddick.
You
I
are
think
jumping
Riddick, you
ahead.
said,
You are jumping ahead. You're gonna have to cut this out because this isn't where she goes to the breakfast detail. This is where Dane pulls her aside under the rotunda and tries to talk her out of staying again. I'm like, wait a minute.
oh,
Like, no, we're not there yet.
oh my
Because they go
gosh.
to Battle Brief first.
They do go to Battle Bay first. Damn it. This is taking a lot longer than I thought it was going to take.
I'm about to go smoke because I haven't smoked in an hour.
Hey, we can just record this tomorrow.
No.
It's 9:30. We're an hour in, and we're only
Uh-huh.
on chapter 4. You are not going to smoke. We are getting this done. All right. So, restarting.
Mhm.
You ready?
Chapter 4?
Okay. Chapter 4. So, chapter 4, we start off with everyone in formation. First time they're all in Rider Black, and Captain Fitzgibbons is reading from the death toll for the first time. We do find out that all of the first years sleep in a big bunk area with absolutely no privacy. Whew, that's rough. That's rough.
Yeah. Nope.
She comes out of the bunk and Dane, ooh la la, is waiting for her. She's just so in love with him. Ugh, I'm sorry. I really don't like Dane.
Okay,
Really don't like.
no, she doesn't. Baby, I love
She
you,
comes
but it's
out
not.
and he is waiting
No,
for her.
no, that's the breakfast thing. That's in like chapter 5. No, this is they break up from formation. Sawyer's supposed to take them where they're supposed to go, and he pulls her aside under the rotunda.
Okay, well then you do this one.
Uh, oh, okay. Hold on. Okay.
I can walk you through it. I can start
Nope,
it
I
and
got it.
then you
I
pick
got
up
it. I
Dane.
got it. I got it. Okay.
Are you sure?
So,
Because you're looking down.
so chapter 4, we start in formation, and Fitzgibbons is giving the roll call, or the death roll every morning, which is kind of creepy, actually. Like,
Very, very
but
creepy.
it's just a writer's thing, I guess.
Hmm.
So they do that, they finish that, and then they break up formation. And Dane basically says, "All right, for second, third years, go where you're supposed to go. First years, you need to find out where you're going." And he tells Sawyer to tell him where to go. But at the same time, he goes, hey, Violet, come here. We need to talk. We need to talk. Why? Why? Like, I just. So, anyway, so he pulls her aside to talk to her for a minute. The biggest thing we get out of this whole conversation, other than Dean trying to talk her out of staying and going to the Squire Quadrant, that's gonna really get monotonous. We should
Again.
almost count this, like how many times he tries to have this conversation with her. Other
So,
than that, the only other thing that we get out of this is she finally cuts in and goes, "So I have to ask one question." Because this is actually something we forgot to mention in the last chapter. So the biggest thing that happened in the last chapter was during formation when they get assigned to their squads.
okay.
Originally, Dane was a squad leader in Second Wing. Guess who's wing leader of Fourth Wing?
We
Hence
did
the name
forget
of
to
the book.
mention that.
Hence the name of the book. So obviously her and Ree go to Dane's squad, which is in Second Wing. And then all of a sudden Dane goes, "Hey, psst, psst, wing leaders, I need you to switch these squads."
Mm,
Oh fuck. Oh fuck. Okay.
They don't like
So
that. They don't
so
like that idea at all.
they're not very happy about it, but they agree to it for some reason. So she gets switched to Fourth Wing, which is now putting Zayden directly in, yeah, line for her commanding
Directly above her.
whatever. Yeah. So basically, this conversation, now back to the conversation with Dane, the biggest thing we find out about this is that she asks him, why did Zayden change, us to Fourth Wing? And basically he's like, oh, all of them say he wants to kill you, which pretty much just confirms what she was afraid of. Now, in the initial read, yes, that is your first reaction, like, oh fuck, he's just trying to find a way to kill her. A lot easier. But on the reread, you're like, so that has to be to do with the deal with her mom, right?
You think?
I mean, that's the only thing I could think of in the reread.
Well, because he did it to keep
An
not
eye on
only keep
her?
track of her and keep an eye on her, it gives him a reason to keep an eye on her. Because think about it this way.
True.
If she's in second wing, he would have absolutely no reason to stick up for her or help her in any way. And his at that point, his people would rebel. Like all of the Mark ones would be like, "What the fuck are you doing? Like she's
Why
not
are you
even in
paying
her
so much
wing.
attention to her? Like, what?
Why are you helping this girl? Like you're supposed to be killing this girl."
Yeah.
So at least if she switched to his wing, it gives him a reason
To be at the sparring or to be at
the sparring ring to help her in any little way without making it blaringly obvious that he's doing it to all of the marked ones, you know.
Well, I mean, that was like in the reread. You're like, oh, okay, he's doing that because of the deal. I gotcha. I figured you
Yeah.
out. I gotcha. But the first time you're going, oh yeah, he's definitely finding a
He's
way to
gonna
get
kill
close
her.
to her. Like he's wants to kill her.
He gonna kill her.
No, he doesn't. Unfortunately, and no matter how many times it can get to the point where he could have killed her. There were quite a few. He just went.
At this point, he still wants to.
Does he? Does he?
Mhm.
Does he?
At this point, yes, because he still blames her for who her mother is.
Until Under the Tree. We're getting to that.
I think
I
he
think
still wants to kill.
I think no. I think Under the Tree is when he sees into who she actually is at her core.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's when his whole opinion of her starts to shift. Not that he likes it, but his whole perspective of her, she's not just General Sorrengail's daughter. Like, it's not
I
just
think-
a deal at that point. Like, I think he starts to actually, like, see, hey, she may be more interesting, or there may be more to her than I wanted to give her credit for the first time. I really am convinced of that.
I think at that point he's still without the bet or the deal he made with Lilith. I think at that point he would still want to kill her. But that being said, he is intrigued. I think Under the Tree intrigued him, but I don't think it intrigued him enough to, if he had the chance, he wouldn't kill her. That's just what I think. I think
We'll have to
very
agree to
quickly after
disagree.
that,
We'll have to agree to disagree because I think that started to sway him. I really do. I think that's when his perspective on her flipped
Changed.
because there you think about it, like he thinks, oh, she's just General Sorrengail's daughter, and think about who her best friend is Dane, who is a by the book rule follower. We know this from many examples, but so think about who she's friends with, who she is, who she's related to. Like that's the first time he actually sees her. Like
Yeah,
who
that's
she
fair.
is, and I think that's when the switch flips.
We're
But
getting ahead of ourselves.
we are. But so she comes out of the conversation with Dane, and guess who's at the top of the stairs, just glaring? Satan. Oh, fuck, he's
Jaden
gonna kill me.
Ryerson.
He's gonna kill me.
And then he wants to be a complete asshole and just point it out to everyone.
yeah, he's not very nice, and he's like, oh, I didn't realize you and Dane were so obvious. Really?
So much
Really?
for trying to keep it on the DL.
Okay. So yeah, childhood friends, first loves. No, it doesn't work like that.
It's all out in the
Um,
open now.
but yeah, so basically the chapter ends with Dane going, "Run, Violet, run." It's like
Now,
Forrest with Ginny, or Ginny with Forrest Gump. Like, run, Forrest, run.
run, Forrest, run. Yeah, pretty much. Although
Mhm.
that is an iconic saying. I'm just saying. Now, one thing we did find out in their conversation is we find out what Dane's signet is, which is he's able to read a person's recent memories by touching their temples. So
Mhm.
this comes into play later. We'll talk about this a little more, but we find this out in this moment that he has this really cool signet that is classified, so she's not allowed to tell anybody because nobody knows what his signet is,
Mhm.
supposedly. Although, for certain reasons, Zeta knows.
Peter knows everything.
Knows everything. They just don't know that Zeta knows everything.
Yeah. There's a reason for that, but we'll get
Hmm.
into that later too.
Yeah, we'll get more into that later. So,
Mm.
but yeah, that was kind of the big doozy. You found that one out too. So, I do also find it interesting that Dane states, which he seems to forget when Violet is going through it, he seems to forget his own statement of this war college will cut away all the bullshit and the niceties revealing who you are at your core. Which for some reason he refuses to see in her. Which we
Because
find
he
out who
just
he
sees
is at
this,
his core.
he just sees this little. Mhm.
He wants to put her in a bubble, okay? He wants her to be the bubble boy. I'm just saying. Only she's the bubble girl. That's what he wants. He wants her to be the bubble girl.
Bubble Boy reference in so long, it's not even funny. Oh my God. All right, you just aged
Showing
us.
my age.
You just aged us
Sorry.
horribly.
You're welcome.
Anyway.
If you haven't looked that one up, I highly recommend it. It is a funny movie.
It's annoying. It's a dork movie, but go for it.
It's funny.
Anyway,
Uh, we
now we
find that out.
go.
Now we go into at the end of the chapter, it ends with Dane telling Violet to run. Because Satan's
Yeah.
there and he's going to kill her. Does he really know? They don't know that
No,
yet.
he's not.
So,
Anyway,
chapter 5.
on to battle.
We open in battle brief. It is our very first battle brief. We meet Professor DeVera. She goes over the structure in the class and objective and of thinking and analyzing current situations. We do also find out that third years seldomly do get called out into service before graduation, just so that they can be aware of what's going on and what they're supposed to be doing after graduation.
And they
We also
usually only go to Midland posts.
Sure. Yeah, they go into smaller posts that don't have a whole lot of action. They're just trying to get them out in the field.
Structure.
Structured. We also do meet Professor Markham, who is the head of the Scribe Quadrant, who is supposed to be Violet's. Yeah, that didn't happen. Which didn't. More on that later.
Violet was supposed to be his prize student.
Just be surprised.
Aww. Poor
Well, she's a prize
Markham.
student, just not his.
We're not. I don't like
Moving on.
Markham.
Yeah, for reasons we haven't gotten into yet. But
Mm.
we do also find out the duty of a scribe is not only to study the past, but to relay and record the present. So in these battle briefs, the scribes are the ones that write all this down and get the information to everyone
From the front lines.
from the front lines. Yes. So this first battle brief, they talk about a battle, an attack on the eastern wing near the village of Shikar by a drift of griffins and riders. They are told that the wards faltered along with the top of the Espen Mountains, allowing the drift of griffins to not only enter Navarre, but also allow the griffin riders to wield their power. So we find out that griffin riders have powers just like dragon riders, but they can't wield their powers inside Navarre's wards. So while they can technically step into the wards, they're basically powerless if they do. So they don't, obviously. Because who
Could
would
people
want to be
step into the
vampires?
wards too? Just we don't know that yet.
Yeah. So this is what they're given. And then we also find out that the wards come from the Draglins, supposedly, in a circular pattern, all stemming from the Vale, which is their hatching grounds. And they only go out so far. In this battle, 37 civilians were killed before the Eastern Wing could arrive. We find out this is not the first time the words have faltered. Violet also tells Rhiannon to ask a question that what altitude the village is at. Markham then responds, and then Tamara calls out Violet to please ask her own questions from now on, causing
Mm,
everyone to focus on her. Everyone knows who Violet Sorrengail is now.
yeah.
Everyone's aware. And keep in mind, this is Battle Brief, so all 3 years and everyone is there. So awesome, I believe was her thought.
Especially after Dane had said, keep a low profile in Battle Brief. Well, she
Hello,
tried, but
Provide. Yeah, that
it
didn't
didn't
work out
work.
so well. Didn't
Dang,
work out
Violet
so
for
well
being
for her.
smart.
Everything Dane tells her to do the opposite. And she kind of does anyway,
Eventually, yeah.
eventually. Yeah. So um we do find out that griffins don't do well at that altitude as far as wielding or being able to fly. So it was kind of an odd place for them to attack, which kind of makes Violet start thinking. Violet in this reveals her aptitude in grasping those small little details and figuring out that the Eastern Wing was already on their way due to the distance between the fort and the village, and they were there within the hour, which means they were already on their way there before the battle even began. So
He thinks.
she thinks. So Devera then opens it up to second and third year writers' questions. Zayden finally asks the right question, which is what was the condition of the village, narrowing down to the fact that the village was not destroyed. They didn't burn anything, they didn't wreck anything, which means they were looking for something. Problem is, they don't know what. They know they were looking for something.
All right. That's the end about well, that's the end of that summary. I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a venom attack or a griffin attack? Were the griffins there to protect the village against the venom? Because we know at the end of the book there was something there attracting the venom. So is this the same situation?
That was my thought on the reread, but we're never going to have a clear picture on that. We're never really going to know. But on the reread, that was my thought, was that this was kind of the same situation where the Venom were looking for something and the Griffins were there to actually protect versus attacking like everyone thinks the Griffins are bad, which they don't necessarily get along, but they don't necessarily want to attack and kill Navarians either. So,
Yeah, it's just like it was funny because the first read you're just like, oh my God, like this is bad, this is bad. But then like in the reread you're going, and it was funny because even the second reread I was like, okay, it's a Griffin attack. That's not untypical. And it was like this last
mhm,
read when I was just like, wait, the village wasn't destroyed. The Griffins were there, but no, only one rider was killed.
mhm.
So it's just like.
What really happened? Which
Just
there are a few questions asked in this battle brief, and Javon is like, "That's above your pay grade." Just
well,
like,
about the words, yeah, faltering and all that stuff, but it's just, and my question too is, did Zayden know?
it makes you wonder with everything going on if Zayden was there or if any of them were there.
I don't think Zayden was there. I think the drift that might have been there is the one he's been supplying to, which we'll
Maybe.
get into that more, but later. But he
Now,
knew.
now later on, we do find out that the Griffins and their riders were attacking outposts to try and get the
The
steel
daggers.
that they
Yes.
needed, the daggers that they needed. So, was it a case of them attacking, trying to get more daggers, or
But,
was this a Venom attack that
but
they?
why would they attack a village for daggers? Because the daggers are kept at the forts.
That's a good point. But you don't
That's like
know. They could have
that's the
been.
biggest red that's the biggest red flag for me, especially on this last reread, is because they didn't attack a fort, supposedly. Supposedly they attacked a village. Which does not make any sense considering we know they would have been looking for daggers if they'd attacked.
Which makes you wonder: is this really like what happened, and is this where it happened?
No, I think it happened
Because
there.
we find out later that they decide, well, we're going to tell them this, but we're not going to tell them this, like kind of thing. So it just makes you wonder how much of that report was actually true.
I think the report was true. I just think that Griffins had a different role than what they portrayed in, because obviously
100%.
they've been at war with Portamil for 400 years, so obviously nobody likes the Griffin Riders, which that changes next book. But anyway, for some of them at least. Anyway, but so there's always going to be they're not going to look that closely into it. The people that they're telling that to are not going to look that
Mm-hmm.
closely into it because there's already a hatred for the Griffin Riders. So they're like, oh, they attacked our village, blah, blah, blah. So the hatred just
It's true.
grows for it rather than they don't want them to know about the venom, so they're not even going to mention that part. But you have to, because the battle could be corroborated by who was there.
Mm-hmm.
But I think the venom would have already been gone by the time the riders got there.
Definitely. I mean,
In my
I don't
opinion.
know. Like, it's hard to say like what it really was, and we'll never know.
No, unfortunately. Unless we could get Rebecca
Yeah.
to answer a question.
Doubtful. Okay. Moving on from Battle Brief, we go on to the assessment, which is their first sparring matches to see where they're at with hand to hand. Let's just say it doesn't go so well. Riddick starts sparring with Orly. He struggles a little bit because, well, he doesn't want to hurt her. He really is such a gentleman.
He's a
Like,
gentleman.
he really is. I love Riddick. I really do.
Me too.
Of course, I tend to go towards the smart asses. So there's that.
Definitely a smart ass.
There's definitely a comment in there of Violet enjoying all the view of the shirtless men because all the men are shirtless. Except for Day,
No.
thank God, because, she might get a little distracted. Mm-hmm. We know someone else who she would get
Say take your shirt off, please. No, never mind. Sorry. Gotta say that out loud.
That's later. So, Violet is worried about this part of the college, and hold on. Oh, back it up. So, at this point, Violet is a little worried about this part, because she's not so good about this whole sparring thing. Considering her weakness and her joints and ligaments and things like that. So she has been working with a captain, I think, for the last 6 months, but with her weakness, she's a little worried about this. So she makes a deal with Sawyer and Rhiannon, to help them with their history, which they're not so good at, if they help her with getting better at sparring. Which, of course, they readily agree. Reagan then gets in and she kicks butt. She is a little badass. I'm just saying. She's awesome. So then Violet gets into the first spar with Imogen, who we find out is a second year, which really seems to bother Leslie because she's the only one who fights a second year, and a marked one at that. So it's like,
Why? Yeah, like why? Like because every other first year faced the first year. And Imogen's
Yeah.
not exactly like a weak freaking fighter. She's a badass in her own, which we learn more
You know,
later.
I did think about this later when you mentioned that because we talked about that before. My thought was, did Professor Emeterio put them together because he figured she's a Sorengale, so she would be better at sparring? So he put her with a second year thinking that it would be a more even match? Because remember, the last Sorengale to go through there was Mira, who has been training her entire life since she was 12, and she's a badass.
She
So
looks
maybe he
nothing like
thought,
Mira.
no, she's not. But at this point, this is the first time Professor Immaterio is seeing her. He doesn't know her.
Maybe.
So that's the only thing that I can think, is that maybe he's putting her up against a second year because he thinks a first year is going to be
Could be.
flattened by her.
Turns out
So I mean,
not,
that
but
was
you
my
know.
thoughts.
Um
No, absolutely not. She actually almost kills her, and if it wasn't for the dragon scales, time number one saved her life.
yeah.
Which completely flummoxed Imogen, by the way. I imagine that look on her face
She's
when she
like
pulls the dagger and goes, yet it's not.
yeah, no.
It's how that saves her life. And then Imogen still wins the fight by wrenching her shoulder out of the socket and snapping her arm bone. Violet.
And then Dane flips out.
Yeah, and then we find out typical Dane flips out, and everybody pretty much figures out, they know each other. So whoever didn't know beforehand, they know now. He carries her to the healing quadrant, remarks on how Dane lost it when she got hurt, which of course he replies with, "No, I didn't." It's kind of like a little, 3-year-old, 5-year-old thing. "No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, I didn't. Yes, you did." He's in denial about a lot of things.
Is he in denial or is
Um,
he just
just Dane. We do meet Winifred, who is the healer who's been healing Violet for pretty much a long time since she's been at Besked War College with her mother. And is married to Nolan, who is a rare mender who can mend anything.
Nolan?
When we also find out in this that Brennan was also a mender.
Yep.
Yep.
Was a
Uh,
mender.
hang
Sorry, we
on.
did warn you about spoilers.
We all okay. We all know. We all know. At
Should,
this point,
at
we don't know.
least.
So, weirdly enough, though, Dane starts begging them not to get Nolan to mend her, but to let her heal naturally. Why? Because he figures
Surprise.
this will get her out of the Riders Quadrant.
So he can sneak again.
Tell me, this boy is he so, oh
Head,
yeah.
wall.
There you go. That worked. Oh my goodness. Oh, which Winifred absolutely tears down and goes, no, because if we don't, his dragon is going to kill you. To which Dane replies, nope. So Nolan is brought around, and before that, Winifred gives her this potion to kind of help with her pain, which of course makes her just a wee bit drunk. Yeah, she starts slurring her words.
Accurate to the side. Yeah.
Yep.
That was pretty funny. That was I think that was funnier to listen to than to read in the book, but that was funny to listen to.
If you've listened to the audiobook, you know.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
It's great in the book, but the audiobook is just so much better. Anyway, if you get a chance, listen to the
Listen
audiobook.
to it.
It's just
Funny.
it's great. So, We also find out that from Nolan that the separatist kids are conscripted into the Riders Quadrant as punishment for their parents' deeds. So this is the first time Violet is hearing all of this. Dane tries yet again to beg Nolan not to heal her. The boy just can't give up. He just can't. Winifred tells Dane to leave because he would have left a long time ago if it was anybody else. And
Yeah. But when she goes, just this once.
this what, which she says very pointed.
No more after. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
that was a pretty funny
Well,
scene.
because we know when she's healed, when she's mended like that, while it mends their bones, she's still very sore and aching for weeks after. So
Yeah.
that's pretty much why. So she's still weak, which everybody in the Writers Quadrant would know. Violet ends up waking up. She makes her way back to the barracks where she finds a little book under her pillow with a note from her sister Mira. The note is rather sweet. The note basically says the book was written by Brennan for Mira when she went through the college, and he'd want her to have it. The book is actually a journal detailing how she's able to survive. So she figures out, makes a plan, and now she has pretty much a way to survive.
Finds out that she can see who she's going to fight is in the professors and which professor
Yep.
it's in, so she can find out ahead of time. And then you remember that little book that she insisted Mira, or she told Mira that she was going to keep because they could kill people? Yeah, that was the poison book. That's how she survives.
That was the poison book. So then we move on to chapter 7. We find Violet sneaking out after curfew. She climbs a tree to get some fennelly berries for her collection of poisons. What is she up to? Just as she starts to climb down, she hears movement under the tree. Hoping it's just a deer, she pauses. Then she starts to hear voices. When she looks down, she sees Imogen and Xaden right under the tree that she just happens to be sitting in. She can't hear their words, but she can tell that they're talking. So, stealthily, she tries to move down without making a sound so she can hear. Then all of a sudden, more riders arrive, and they all have rebellion relics. Now, something to keep note of, which you find out at the beginning of this chapter, that there is a Basgiath War College rule where no more than 3 people with rebellion relics are allowed to be together at one time. And the reason for this, we find out later. But this is a hard, fast rule in the Codex, and it is something they're not supposed to. It's an executable offense.
Yes.
So they're basically creating
they're breaking the law.
They're breaking the law. Yep. She sees all of these people, which are way more than 3. And she starts thinking, are they plotting to betray Navarre? Should she tell Dane? So she decides to get a little closer to see if she can hear what they're talking about in detail. She gets close enough. She sits very quietly and listens to their conversation, which basically she finds out they've been meeting like this for 2 years and have never gotten caught. We also meet Garrick for the first time. I love Garrick. He's probably one of my favorite characters.
Even though he's not like a huge prevalent character. That's what cracks me up.
No.
He's just not. He's just there. He's just always there.
When he's there, like I don't know. I've always loved Garrick. But basically what she's hearing is them talking through the younger cadets, trying to help them figure out what she's trying to do, which is survive. So she pretty much decides right then and there that she's not going to say anything. But she sits there because obviously she doesn't want to get caught eavesdropping with all of these rebellion relic people who probably want to kill her. which she finds out in no uncertain terms that they do when the conversation veers to, when are you going to handle Violet? Handle obviously being Taylor.
When can we kill Violet Sorrengail?
Oh, yeah. When can we kill Violet Sorrengail? And Xaden insisted that he will handle
Handle.
Violet. Which obviously creates some arguments about how her mother and how she's responsible for their parents' deaths, which of course is all on Violet, because that makes sense. States that they are Navarians and they don't do it the same way. They tend to
Oh,
forget that a few times.
Xaden handles her all right.
Oh, he handles her. He handles her. Why does he handle her? We'll get into that in a minute. So, they finally disperse. Violet waits for quite a long time to make sure everyone is gone. As she starts to get to the ground, suddenly someone appears out of the shadow. Dun dun dun! It's Xaden. He revealed that he knew she was there the entire time. How did he do that? Because he's a shadow wielder, which is a very rare signet. Very rare signet. Basically, he controls the shadows of everything around him. She starts throwing daggers at him, which is, I love this scene. I really do. Seeming to miss, but her aim is better than he thinks it is. He tells her that she missed, and she says, "Did she really?" He starts to question her about what she heard, and right before that, also tells her that maybe she should show that little throwing trick to Jack fucking Barlow.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Starts questioning her about what she heard and if she's going to tell anyone, obviously, that they were all together. She won't, she insists. And after a long pause, he finally believes her. Says that he owes her a favor, to be determined at a later date. Tells her to get back to her dorm before her wing leader finds out.
Wait a minute, you're my wing leader. Oh,
But
okay.
you're the wing leader.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love it.
You know what's really funny? It's like you read this the first time and you're just like, oh, okay, the shadows told him, he just believes her, or he sees it in her eyes or whatever, and you're reading it the second time, you're like, oh my God, how much did he read her mind? How much? Like seriously, like, because I mean, he flat out says that's how he knew she wasn't gonna tell him. But it's just like the second time you're reading this, you're like, I really want to
Like,
know
how
what
much?
he's thinking and like what he sees and what he's seeing in her and like why? Why? I want to know. I want to know.
Inquiring minds need to know. Yeah.
Because obviously it wasn't just the shadows.
Yeah, okay. Moving on. Chapter 8. The next morning, she gets ready for kitchen duty, which we find out she does because she just likes to poison people. Only the
No.
ones she's sparring with.
Right.
Only the ones she just happens to be sparring with. They all just happen to get sick for different reasons. Weird. When she walks out, however, Dane is waiting for her to walk her to kitchen duty. Oh, how sweet. It's like soured wine. I'm sorry. We find out how much of a stickler he is for rules, however, when he sees Ray coming out of Tara's room, who is a second year, by the way. She's not supposed to be there.
Oh well.
Oh well. On the walk there, Dane talks about sparring later and how he doesn't know if he can watch her. And to which she replies, then
Don't
don't.
watch. Then just don't watch.
Little smart ass comments and sarcasm. Like, that's like everything she replies with. I'm like, yep, that would be me. That would be me. He also, by the way, tells her to stay away from Jack fucking Barlow. The complete opposite of Xaden's advice, by the way. Lay low. Maybe he'll leave you alone.
No.
I don't think that's gonna work. She decides once and for all not to tell Dane about the meeting she witnessed the night before with all of the relict people.
Good idea.
That's a very good idea. I'm very proud of her. She's smart.
She can be
After
taught.
breakfast, she kind of after breakfast, they have class with Professor Kaori, who is the master on the different types of dragon breeds.
And illusionist.
Kaori is just
I like
oh my
Kaori.
goodness. The more I read about him, like the more this story goes on, the more I'm like,
Yeah, I like Kaori.
he starts going on about the breeds of dragons and their specifications, how they are supposed to approach each color and tail dragon. They're all classified by their colors and whatever tail they have, which we'll do a deep dive on the dragons at a later date. So we go a little bit more into detail on that. They go through all the colors. Riddick remarks on the blue, and if you see one, just run because it's the Gale, and you don't. If her rider's not around, you don't want to be around her because she's a badass bitch. And rather, let's see, how did they describe her? Violent?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a reason she bonded with Zayden.
Yeah, there is.
Then Jack starts making comments and asking about the black dragons. Even though Kaori says that he has not bonded, there's one black dragon who is unbonded since his rider died 6 years ago. But he's not interested in bonding. Jack wants to know more about him. We see Terran, the second most dangerous dragon around today. The only one that's bigger and more ferocious than him is General Melgren, who is a bigger black dragon.
Coda. Yep, his dragon is Coda.
Which, okay, I got comments about that later. But anyway, Jack insists that he wants to know how to approach a black dragon, that he will have this black dragon. I don't think that works out for him very well.
No, you won't. And
we also find out.
Yep, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
We also find out that the signet is not necessarily determined by the dragon, it's determined by the rider and the chemistry between the rider and the dragon. But ultimately, it's based on the rider and says more about them than it does the dragon. Now, the stronger the bond and the more powerful the dragon, the more powerful the signet. But how it manifests is more about the rider.
And Terran gets a pretty powerful signet. Pretty powerful. He's pretty
He
there.
gives out very powerful signets.
Yeah.
But the signet is ultimately based on whatever the rider truly needs.
Yes.
So not what they want, very important, what they need, like as a person. So it's we'll do a little more deep dive into signets later and kind of see what y'all think about that. But at the end of class, Kaori confirms that the black dragon whose rider died was Naolan, who was a siphon, which basically means that he could siphon anyone's power and use it
or
either against them or redistribute it to someone else. So it is a hell of a signet. It's kind of scary because, as we know, at a later date, there's someone else that gets that power, and it kind of terrifies her.
Well, I wonder why. It's
weird.
I know. Yeah, it's just totally hard to figure out.
Well, we'll get back to that, but if you think about it in this way, it's a badass signet. But when it gets, I don't know, there's something about it when we get to that point later on, like in the first read, I didn't think about that at all. Like, and that's more about the way Rebecca writes about it.
Right.
Because she's terrified of it, especially the first time it happens. She's just like, we'll get back to that, guys. It's just anyway.
Okay, one thing I want to note. Not only is Terran a rare black dragon, but he also is very rare because he has a Morningstar tail, which is like a sword tail, dagger tail, club tail, like all combined into one. It's
It's a
very,
badass tale,
it's a
y'all.
badass tale. But so yeah, that was the only other thing I was gonna say.
Yeah. Um, like we said, though, he did confirm that Neolin was the writer who was trying to siphon Brennan's mending power to save
Just
him.
say them.
That's when Neolin died because he channeled too much and burned himself out. And that's how he passed away.
We think we don't know.
And
There's a
Taryn has absolutely no interest in bonding with anyone at this point.
he
Something
bonds
tells
deep.
me he changes his mind.
He bonds deep, deep, deep.
He does. He's a grumpy old grandpa. I love him.
Imagine.
So, next class is sparring. Rhea again kicks ass on her opponent. Dane tells Violet that her opponent is going to try to kill her because he's friends with Jack Barlow. Yay. However, when he steps on the mat, he just seems to be a little bit green. Just green around the edges.
Interesting.
Violet's kind of feeling kind of good about this, that maybe she can actually win. Then Jack starts to confront her about how she is finished and he's going to kill her, and she basically tells him to fuck off. Ends up throwing daggers at him and sees fear in him for the very first time, which of course makes Jack even more determined to, well, kill her.
And Dane's going, good job, and Dane's going, what are you doing? What are
Dane's
you
going, I
doing?
told you to stay away from him, and Dane's going, badass, awesome. This right here is like the epitome of the difference between the two, and it's the first time you're really like,
I
you
choose him.
suck, you're awesome.
I choose him.
It's like the first definitive moment where you're like, yeah, you suck, you're awesome. All right, we're going to
Yeah.
She doesn't quite get that yet, but it's the first moment I felt like that.
Door number one, door number
So, what's behind door number one?
two.
So then it's Violet's turn on the mat. Orin is definitely sluggish, a little green around the edges, and very sweaty. He comes at her with a knife, but she dodges him and hits him. She ends up pinning him, and he starts vomiting. Imitario ends up eventually calling the match, and Violet technically wins. Weird how that happened. She starts to get a little confidence, especially after winning her next 5 to 6 matches with a little bit of poisoning.
Weird.
It's just weird how they all just keep seem to come up with different things. Just strange.
Can't see straight.
Her downfall, however, comes with her 7th match when she slightly misjudges the timing of the poison, and her opponent is in the infirmary. Instead of being able to be on the mat, he couldn't quite walk in a straight line, so they sent him to the healers. And Violet starts to say, all right, she can do it later. And suddenly you hear a voice from the back going, I'm happy to step in. No, 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 no. And it's Satan. Ontario asks, are you sure? Absolutely. Oh, shit.
Oh no 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 no. Fuck 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 fuck. And that's the end of our summary today. Oof. That was a lot.
Yes, it is.
That was a lot.
That was a lot. That was a lot of
But
information.
yeah. So I don't think I'm gonna do the deep dive today just because it's taken us this long to do that. Um, but I will definitely have a few things to go over next time because I think we'll try to shorten a little bit of it. But
Yeah.
there's a lot of information in these first like 8 chapters because you're learning the characters or learning who they are, like what their
Right.
motives are, what they want to do. But I don't know. There's in the first read, you're like, oh my God, what's gonna happen next? And in the reread, you're going, can I just get to the the snow scene? I want the snow scene.
I'm editing all this out, by the way.
Why?
Well, first of all, I was looking down, and second of all, it's just, yeah.
Go.
You don't need to know that.
No, but yeah. On the first read, you're definitely like learning a lot. You're trying to figure out all of the characters and who everybody is. But and on the reread, you're like, okay, I just want to get through it. I just want to get through it.
Right?
So, yeah, that's my
Yeah.
opinion.
Yeah. Excuse me. I obviously thoroughly enjoyed the first read. The reread, you catch so much more on the reread just because you catch those little details that you missed first. Especially after
Yeah.
knowing certain things like, Zayden's other little power. More on that later.
Yeah.
It opens up so many things where you're just like,
I
oh,
get
that
it
makes sense.
now.
I
Yeah.
get it now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely
So
for
yeah.
sure.
But next week we will be diving down into April. Next week we will be diving deep into chapters 8 through 16.
You mean 9 through 16?
Shit. Next week we will be taking a deep dive into chapters 9 through 16. Getting exciting, it starts picking up.
We get through
We will also
threshing.
be doing We will also be doing a deeper dive into certain characters and their characteristics and things we're kind of thinking about them. We're also going to do a slight deep dive into the different types of dragons. So, and kind of a breakdown of the squads and just kind of clear that up for anybody. So that's something, a little bit of a teaser to look into for next week. We are going to get off of here right now, but keep in mind we are a little baby podcast, so please hit that like and subscribe button if you liked what you heard and you liked what you heard. Really,
Oh,
oh,
if you want to support us, and please comment
if you
because
heard it in, sorry.
yeah.
Okay, if you like what you heard, I did it again.
No, that wasn't that bad.
Mm. So, if you like what you heard, please hit that like and subscribe button. We would love to hear comments from you as well and kind of incorporate things into there. So, we look forward to hearing from all of y'all.
Yeah, we want the theories because especially when we get to the
We
third
do.
book, like we're gonna have our own theories and we're probably gonna have some bets. So if you have any theories or bets that we should take,
Definitely.
yeah, we'll definitely be open to that.
We do quite a bit of bets, actually, between ourselves. So I'm kind of excited to share that with you guys.
I'm kind of scared because I don't win the bets very often, although I have won a couple big
Yeah,
ones.
she has. I will give her that. She's won a couple of, I'm going to say smaller ones, but sure.
Oh, okay. All right.
But we shall see because there's one you guys are going to have to clear up for, which we'll get into later. But there is one that's still outstanding that both of us agree that we're right, but we'll see what you guys think.
Yeah, I'm still convinced
Anyway,
I was right. But anyway,
you're totally wrong. We will see you guys next week, and we look forward to talking with you.
bye.
Bye.